Okay, this is a little, you know, random thing I needed to make because I am so tired of what's going on over here that this needs to be said. And I'm tired of the attacks on Trump about, being a little more aggressive towards North Korea. North Korea just launched a mid-range missile this morning, and it flew over Hokkaido, which is the northernmost island, and it splashed in the Pacific Ocean right, off the coast. And I am frankly fucking tired of everybody who thinks that Trump was doing the wrong thing in his response to North Korea's threats before. These missile attacks have not stopped. And yes, I'm nowhere near Hokkaido. I'm very, very far away from there, but that doesn't take away the point that this is only the second missile they've ever launched that's gone past Japan. And because it was a success that it got 1,000 kilometers, and based on the Earth's angle and the shape of the Earth and all that other good stuff, that's actually the quickest route to nail Hawaii. So, for all those people who think that Trump saber rattling is a bad thing, well, you can go fuck yourselves. This is getting far more dangerous to be in Japan as a foreigner, or even as a Japanese person. It's creating a new environment where, based on, the current prime minister's leanings in terms of being as hawkish as he is, it's giving him more reason to change the pacifist constitution this country has in order to, in the name of self-defense. And I'm all for some changes to Article 9 because it neutered Japanese defenses like you can't believe, where to the point where Japanese self-defense Navy forces cannot even fire live ammunition at Chinese boats that, encroach on their territory, which is a constant daily thing in the southern part of Japan, like the down, far south, closer to Taiwan area. And there was a ship that actually crossed, a Chinese ship to be specific, that crossed through the little strait that separates Honshu, which is the main island, and Hokkaido, which is the northernmost island. And so I agree with there needs to be some changes to the constitution, but what North Korea is doing is giving Japan a reason to become a nuclear state. Because the current Prime Minister, Abe, has been considering getting nuclear weapons for quite some time. And essentially, because the Japanese people are so much against the idea of nuclear weapons, especially nuclear anything after, the big earthquake and stuff and the nuclear meltdown and all that other garbage. But he thinks that being a nuclear country with nuclear weapons will be a deterrent for China and North Korea, which he's completely mistaken in this. But if North Korea continues to do this and Trump doesn't make any actions or carries out on his threats previously, it doesn't matter what's going to happen at this point. For anybody who lives in the United States, because you guys are not affected. It's people over here that are affected. And I know people are going to say stupid shit like, well, if America attacks North Korea, well, then Japan's going to get hit too. Yeah, but you know what? North Korea's proven that they can't hit the side of a wall with their missiles. They can't actually hit Japan because their targeting technology is not up to snuff. But it doesn't matter that North Korea's continued to disobey international law. China has been covering for them for decades, and this needs to stop. And what Trump did before and what he should continue to do is continue to saber rattle, because there's no other way that this is going to get solved because of that crazy motherfucker Kim Jong Un in North Korea. basically he is bent on war, it seems, and I think that it should happen. And I think that the US should just, I'm not saying use nukes, but to use the mother of all bombs, right, wipe out Pyongyang off the face of the map with conventional weapons, and give the land back to the South Koreans and make it a united Korean peninsula again. Because until that happens, nothing's going to change. And 20 some odd years of policy that started under Bill Clinton in terms of, appease the North Koreans so they don't start shit has failed. It has completely failed, and it's going to continue to fail if Trump decides to go along with it again, which, based on previous comments, he doesn't seem so interested in doing that, but I'm hoping he doesn't. And this is to the point where no matter what North Korea does, nobody's going to stop them unless it's a military action. And a few calculated airstrikes on the government would do a lot of good for this entire region. Because of North Korea, this region stays completely unstable. Then you have China encroaching on all different countries in this area: Vietnam's waters, Indonesia's waters, Philippines' waters, Japanese waters. So North Korea is giving China an excuse to, try to be an imperial state and build its own little, Eastern empire, because everybody puts attention on North Korea and takes their eyes off of China. And this is not just something that I've recently come along to believing in, in thinking that a military strike was necessary in North Korea. I've actually believed this for about, 15 or some odd years. Ever since W. Bush was president, I had always been for attacks on North Korea during Kim Jong Il's, the father's regime. When Bush called Iran, Iraq, and North Korea an axis of evil, he was right. Although they weren't directly an axis of evil, but he was right that these countries are terrible, terrible states that need to be dealt with. Now, Iran, I don't think military action is a wise idea because of various reasons in that region. Iraq, I never agreed with him going into Iraq. I could buy into Afghanistan, but I always thought North Korea was the one country that if anybody was going to invade because of humanitarian reasons, it should have been done under Bush. And so the only country I've actually been very hawkish about in this sense has been North Korea. I've been very anti intervention in just about everywhere else except North Korea, because they actually are the equivalent of a Stalinist regime. They starve their people. There's death camps and labor camps there that would make the gulags in Stalin's Russia look like a vacation. And there's really no way around it anymore. They've broken international law far too long, and China needs to back off and stop pushing their, keeping the Kim regime there. Because China's idea is to have an enemy against the United States to keep them busy there. We can no longer appease China. We cannot be thinking about that anymore. It has to be thinking about our allies, and Japan and South Korea are the allies of the United States. On top of that, due to international agreements going back decades, any attack on Japan is supposed to be considered an attack on the U.S. because of the way the agreement of the self-defense forces and the U.S. troops being here as part of the treaty at the end of World War II. So this should be essentially the catalyst for finally dealing with this stupid Korean issue. If we get rid of the Kim regime, South Korea can unify the peninsula again, and maybe there would be some semblance of peace in this region.